Mrs. Maisel? Yeah, I've gained a ton of weight just recently. It's tragic. I'm pretty sure that it's because my main form of exercise is exercises in futility. Like continuing to pay my gym membership when I haven't seen it in 3 years. There was a time when I could just pretend that I was pregnant again. Here's the move. You kind of arch your back and then protectively rest your hand on your belly. See that? I just went from chubby to maternal in 2 moves. I'm 47 though. I don't think anybody's gonna believe that I'm pregnant. 47 is the age where telling your girlfriends that you have a UTI is considered bragging. So I have 4 kids. I love saying that. I get instant cred. Yeah, I probably love saying it more than I love having them. It's a tough game. Other parents here? Where are other parents? 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 Okay, how many kids do you have? A lot. 4. Oh, soul sister. Yeah, I feel you. So, okay, so do you have a favorite kid? No, you don't have a favorite kid. Saying that you have a favorite kid is like saying that you enjoy the smell of your own farts. Maybe you do, but you can't admit it. People have said that parenting is a marathon, not a sprint. I will be finishing my parenting marathon the way that some runners finish the Boston Marathon. You know, with like bloody nipples and diarrhea dripping down their legs. I'm gonna make it. It's not gonna be pretty. By some miracle, all of my kids are gonna be out of the house this weekend. It's very exciting, yeah. My husband and I will get to spend some alone time and fight in private. So I'm not gonna keep you from our first comic much longer. Thank you so much for being here at Stand Up Jam. It's a great show. I love the energy. I love the audience every month. So thank you all for being here. And first up, this comic is a regular here at Improv Boston and right up the street at the 730 Tavern. Please welcome Liam McGurk.
Hey, what's up, guys? I run a show down the street. It's at 8, so just come here after my set. Come down if you'd like to. That was a cheap shot. That was unnecessary. I'm sorry, I haven't taken my coat off. Okay, I will. Hold on. I'm sorry. All right. How's everyone's morale? How's a good, strong mental health? Yeah, it's difficult out there. It's fucking, I don't know what it is. You gotta make tough decisions for your mental health. Like, you gotta cut toxic people out of your life. It's difficult. My doctor, he said my cholesterol was too high, I cut him out. My mom, she got concerned I'm not taking my medication. I stopped taking my medication. First thing the voices had to do was cut her out. Just cut her out. I had to cut out my own girlfriend. That was so difficult because she kept saying toxic stuff like, leave me alone. I don't know you. Stay away from my family. And I was like, fine, I'm gonna have to separate our union, Rihanna. Ever since you changed your locks, I'm not even sure who you are anymore. I did spend time in a psych hospital. It was difficult, but I knew I was gonna be okay because my roommate, he was like 300 pounds. And when I was just trying to sleep in there, he would just fart like I wasn't in the room. And then that was what made me get up and get better. It's like his ass, when I wanted to give up, was saying like, keep going, Liam. I'll be your mirror. You're gonna be great. Yeah, so I'm fine now. I had to go because I had like paranoid, schizophrenic thoughts. So I'm fine now. I would just appreciate if everyone would stop plotting to kill me, huh? It's like I can't read the electricity in your brains communicating with each other. it, I'll just cut that out. Good. Thank you. Yeah, so like I'm sober now and nobody believes me. Because I always look like 5 minutes ago I was outside smoking the exhaust pipe of my car. And I have this voice that makes me sound like I have a favorite flavor of aerosol can. That's a weird discrimination I've always felt. I've been kicked out of bars sober. I tried to order a Jack and Coke from this one place, and the guy said, "As much as we need the money, I do not want you on my conscience." That's so messed up that just my normal personality made him go home that night and be like, "Son, money's gonna be tight because today I realized that I am a dealer of poison." It's kind of a sacrifice. Right now, like my only 3 outlets for pleasure are seltzer water, Q-tips, and ruthless displays of power. Basically, I've just changed my whole personality. My personality, I've mirrored it after a guy who manages a coffee shop who used to play high school sports. So I give a lot of firm handshakes and then I say shit like, "Hey, do me a favor, have a great weekend." Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of like my favorite celebrities have been canceled. They've done like horrible things. Joseph Stalin, my favorite poet. I researched it. He did a second thing. And then from going to AA meetings in churches, I realized like, I think my favorite celebrity is Jesus, you know? Because his record's clean. Like, are we cool with that? How do people feel about that? You know? He may have like some of the worst fans, but like he himself, he's never been racist or sexist or like even swore. He never worked with R. Kelly on a gospel after that video came out. And then when Rob got in trouble, he's like, "Nah, that's not my boy Robert. He wouldn't do something like that." I love all those guys. I'd have dinner with Abraham. You know what I mean? I like the go-get-it attitude of Muhammad. I'm low-key attracted to that twin Vishnu. But Jesus, man, I don't know what it is. I want to get like a Jesus piece on a necklace, but I don't want him on the cross because I don't like to remember the bad times. I feel like having Jesus on the cross as your necklace is like if the background picture on your phone was your girlfriend crying. Why would you choose to remember this? I'm just saying, like, I want Jesus as a necklace, but I want him doing this. That's when he won the background, the Pinewood Derby when he was 8. Just a nice memory of the guy. All right, that's my time. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Leah McGurk. Up next, she's not only very funny, but she is also my co-producer here at the Stand-Up Jam, so we have her to thank for all of this happening tonight. Please welcome Laura Clark.
Thank you. That is an absolute falsehood. Colleen does all the work. I showed up. Hi, everybody. Let's see. A little about me. I was at a coffee shop earlier, and I saw like this delicious looking sort of loaf. It looked very moist and tasty in the window, and I asked the barista like, "Hey, what is that?" And he was like, "Well, that's gonna be a maple pumpkin cheesecake." And I was like, "But what is it now? Like, I'm not getting the best of potential." years ago because Liam was talking about medication. For most of my relationship and marriage, I was unmedicated for depression. I know, right? Like a divorced, depressed comedian. Like, no, I've seen everything. But I was, and then I got on the right meds, and I stopped hating myself, and because I didn't hate me, he and I just had nothing in common anymore. Gotta go. Gotta go. Yeah, I don't know. Men love a woman who hates herself. It's so easy. Easy situation. But no, I got a divorce. It was hard. I had to like move, uproot my life. Came back here because I grew up here, and my life is a uninspired indie film. I came back here and I had to start over again, and I'm in my 30s, and it's sort of like, like that's hard. You get to a certain age and you're like, I can't believe I have to start my whole life over. And so I thought like, oh, I'll Google like who are some inspiring women who had to like start their second act, like after 30, like who like really, started from scratch and really, climbed up. And it was very depressing because the only woman I could find was that Romanian dwarf from that movie The Orphan. I mean, she's 37, starts over as a 12-year-old, like who doesn't want someone else taking care? You got 6 years before you turn 18, like to figure all that out. I don't know. That was hard. Let's see. But I am probably maybe you noticed from my V-neck, I'm bisexual. And bisexual. If you don't know what that is, and there's been sort of some quibbling over the terminology, but let me explain it. A bisexual is someone who ultimately wants to be with a man. I don't make the rules. We are a bunch of straight women and gay men lying to ourselves. That's what we are. That's a myth. It's kind of hurtful, but it makes sense that in this world that they'd be like, well, yeah, but you want to be with a man, right? Like if you could choose, you'd want to be with a man because men are great. That's just the logical choice. Now that's a myth. And sort of another kind of myth I think is like, you're not bisexual, you're just greedy. Like you just want a little of this, little of that, you're just greedy. Which is another way of being like, help me, I'm bisexual, but I have portion control. Like, yeah, well, we'd all love to just like slurp down some cock and then head across the street to the Coos buffet, but there's a little thing called moderation, right? I feel bad for straight women, really. It's just because here's every heterosexual couple is the woman will be like, yeah, hi, so I don't really think of myself as a pediatric surgeon because really that's what I do, but my passion is really for astrophysics, and that's what I was studying until like I realized like I have these tiny doll hands in this way with children, and I felt like I would be like stealing these children from their parents if I didn't go into pediatric surgery. So that's what I do, but I still, I dabble in the astrophysics on the weekends when I'm not volunteering in my community or modeling corsets. Anyway, me. Thank you so much for giving me those directions last week. I made you these cake pops from scratch. And then the boyfriend's like, and I'm Keith! And it's time to go. You guys have been so much fun. So excited for the rest of this show. Yeah. Give it up for all the comics you're about to see. Thank you so much. That was so fun.
Laura just seemed a little confused about whether or not she was hosting, didn't she? And that Keith sounds great. So please welcome up next to the stage. She's very funny. I enjoy her a lot. Jennifer Livingood.
So I've had people describe me as an angry lesbian who looks like I'm gonna start some bar fights. I mean, I totally get it because I mean I kind of have the whole angry lesbian starter pack going on here. It's like some vibe that I get off that I have here, and I totally understand that. It's actually pretty funny because I'm an overly nice Midwesterner, and I'm really polite, and but you know, sometimes I think about starting bar fights, but only if it's okay with everybody, and I don't want to really ruffle any feathers because that would be really, really rude. So I'm from a small town in Illinois of about 800 people, and driving here is a bit different than that, living there. So let's say you're driving in Illinois and you honk at a Midwesterner. They're likely going to have an existential crisis. They are going to just hang their head and they're going to be thinking that they're a big drain on society. They're going to drive into a fucking lake. So, yeah, whenever you honk at a Midwesterner, it's awful. So, I experienced Storrow Drive a couple weeks ago. I was taking a friend home to Melrose going north, and there's this part where you have to decide between 93 and 1. And it was during rush hour, and I didn't decide quick enough. And 93 was back to back, and my friend was like, yeah, just merge into there. I'm like, what? I can't just merge into there. Those people are angry. I'm like, I'm Midwestern, I don't drive like you. And so I just froze up and I said, oh my God, okay, I've got to get real here. I totally got to get real here. I have a confession to make. I have ended up in a lot of places in Boston because I didn't want to merge. It's a great way to see the city. You didn't find that funny. So somehow I ended up in 93 in like that lane, and even though I tried to convince him that the non-mergy lane was much better. So I got into 93 and we got our way up to Melrose, and I found the nearest body of water and drove right into it. So even though the traffic is bad here, I really, really like shopping in the city. And so, but I just have a problem getting that reusable bag thing down. Like I always forget them, and I feel really bad buying a bag at the store. I feel like Greta Thunberg is gonna come up and just be like, "You're a bad human." No. So one day I'm like at the store and I thought, you know, I'm gonna do the best thing I can here, and I'm just gonna not buy a bag for this item. I'm pretty damn cool. Look at me, I'm eco-friendly. So I got my item and I got out on the city street and I looked down at my item and I'm like, oh shit, I made a really bad mistake here. I should have bought a bag for my butt plug. I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna have to own it here. So I'm walking down the street, there's tourist family, I'm like, hey, I've got a butt plug. Walking down the Freedom Trail, tour buses going by. God bless the USA. So I trusted a fart. Like, not right now. Like a couple weeks ago, I trusted a fart and it didn't end well. And so I ended up at Target buying a new pair of pants. And the cashier was really chatty. And he was like, oh yeah, there's some freaking sports ball game over the weekend and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God. And the Midwesterner in me wanted to say, you know, okay, yeah, that game, yeah, bad for whoever, whatever. But my angry lesbian bar fighter came out. I said, dude, I just shit my pants. Can you just give me my bag and let me go? You are all amazing. Thank you very much.
So I have to give a shout out to our tech Bella. She is fantastic, and thank you for making my life so much easier, Bella. Let's give her a round. But you also really have to listen to what she walks people off to, because she's always pulling something out of their set and then playing music about it, which I find totally amusing. So up next we have a guy who actually just started his own show, the Glue Factory at Dark Horse Tavern,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
All right, please welcome Jeremy Pearson.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we give it up for Colleen, Daisy, Riley, and Kathy? Is Kathy here? I don't think Kathy's here.
No,
Right?
it's Laura.
All right. All right. They are both funny as fuck, but they're also like two of the most nicest and decent people in Boston comedy. So give it up for them. I love both of them. All right. So I'm a professor, believe it or not. So I have a PhD in history. Before I got a PhD, I thought people would care that I have a PhD. It turns out they don't at all, especially in Boston. This guy's loud. This guy has a PhD. I can tell. So the only people who care that I have a PhD are basically like 55-year-old dads. I'm like a hot girl for 55-year-old dads. Because when a man hits his 50s, there are a couple of different paths you take. One of which is a deep dive into Tom Clancy novels and history documentaries. Let me tell you, those dads are thirsty for what I got. It's funny actually. Yesterday I was actually teaching about the Oracle of Delphi. So it's basically this is a place that the ancient Greeks would go to. They would like basically they give questions, and it's actually very useful because like they wrote down stuff on like little like shards of like pottery. So it actually gives us some like insight into like what regular people were thinking. And a lot of them were like very familiar. Like my favorite were like, it's like, will I fall in love? Will I get divorced? Will I reconcile with my father? My favorite is, am I poisoned? Which I'm like, I might be poisoned. Because if an ancient Greek could travel all the way to the Oracle of Delphi, scribble this like thing in pottery, and wait for the answer, who among us is not potentially poisoned? So I was also raised very religious. Basically my parents were Christian missionaries. So I basically grew up, like I traveled to like 20 plus different countries with my parents, and they basically told people about Jesus. And the one thing I learned is that most people have heard of Jesus. Turns out he's very famous. So I was taught all sorts of things growing up. Like one of the things I was taught is that if a man, it's very heteronormative. I hate to break it to you, but the Old Testament is very heteronormative. If a man lusts after a woman in his heart, it is exactly the same as if he had sex with her. I've had sex with 900,000 women. Good times. All right, so in addition to that, in addition to that, I also so I'm not transgender, but that wasn't a joke. I don't know what you guys are laughing about. It wasn't a joke, but thank you for the laughs. All right, so I'm not transgender, but I didn't go through puberty. This is real. It's not a joke. Like until I was 22 years old, because I basically have an endocrine condition where basically my body does not produce certain hormones. And so as a result of that, like I have to basically take testosterone like supplementally. And so like I can relate to like transgender people who are like doing like hormone stuff. Let me tell you all, testosterone is a bitch. I was a nice, sweet boy who was attracted to women. You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to just be near them, hold their hands. And then once I got testosterone in my body, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to fuck. So, the reason that I say this is because, like, look, like, you know, there's that saying, like, perception is reality, but also hormone. Like, I believe a hormone's a reality. Like, I believe this. And like, it's a very cliche thing where men will be like, you know, oh, you're PMSing, blah, 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 like that kind of shit. But like, no, hormones are real, dude. I don't know what to tell you. And right, I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks.
I get the hormone thing, actually. Yeah. I have a teenage boy, and he's gross. He showers constantly. But he's somehow never actually clean. My mother noticed that his face was breaking out. She suggested that I take him to a dermatologist, and I was like, is a dermatologist gonna tell him to stop jerking off long enough to wash his face? That would actually be worth a copay. I recently found a tape measure in my shower. As the mother of a teenage boy, I chose not to ask any questions. Turns out my husband did ask questions, and I was like, oh my God, you know, what did you say? He was like, well, I needed to make sure that he was measuring from the right spot, because that makes a difference. All right, everybody, please welcome next to the stage my friend Kim Margolis.
Hey, hi. Well, how's it going? Something tells me he wasn't fixing grout in that shower. I wish I was a teenage boy. Just wondering what it would be like. I'm sexy, salty, and a powered 40-year-old. That's what I believe. Because it's on my profile. Everything on the internet they say is true. I'm from Malden. Anybody know where Malden is? Yeah. Just to the left of Encore. May take you a while to get there. My mom lives in Revere. We used to go to Revere a lot. And I don't know if you guys know this, but everybody in Revere has an accessory. Called an ankle bracelet. Everybody has one. No one goes out after 5. If you see anybody out there, run. Let's see. Growing up, I always wanted to find my Prince Charming, like in the fairy tales. So I thought about cutting my hair, but had my ribs removed instead. Cut my toes, killed my parents, moved to another country. Disney's violent, you guys. Have you seen Star Wars? I like my conversations, like I like my sex. I'll get to the point eventually. It'll take a while. I started getting in shape, wanting to go to the gym. I started to do yoga. Anybody do yoga? Any yogis? Yeah. You know, I was doing yoga, and this teacher was really, really hot. He was like one of these healthy guys, you know, carried the thermos of iced tea like everybody does. And I was bending doing the downward dog, really committed to doing this downward dog. And I was like, I'm not gonna have these people show me up. So I'm in the position, I'm ready to go, and my pants start falling down. And I'm like, I wanted to stay committed to this. I'm like, maybe he wouldn't notice. So he's walking around, walks behind me, and does this. And then walks away. Now, many of you guys think that this is a yoga joke, but it's not. This is my first attempt at anal. I used to work in in hell. For those of you who don't know, that's Brookline. One of the things I had to do there, I worked in an eye doctor's office. I had to teach INRs. And for those of you that are wondering what am I inserting, I'm teaching people how to put contacts in. And one of the things I had to say was don't put contacts in your mouth. And I think that's ridiculous. I'm not going to be able to see that way. What are you learning from me? So I work at Warby Parker now. Warby Parker, I can spot desperation, pink eye, and your fashion sense from a mile away. Warby Parker is in Seaport. It's a very up-and-coming place. People used to tell me that's where they used to bury the bodies. Now we have families walking dogs in three-piece suits. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't know what's going on. Warby Parker, for those of you that don't know, they're a New York company. New York company started by 4 guys. They're like the Beatles of the optical world. How they came to be was one guy lost his glasses on a plane, went to get a new pair, and realized they cost as much as his phone. They're like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna start my own company." So now there you go, we have recyclable glasses. And because this company is in New York, we don't get to sit down. Nobody in New York likes to sit down. But we do break for dogs. And we got a lovely shacket. It's a shirt and jacket combination. Blue shacket. Shack it up, you guys. Thank you.
All right, Kim. So coming up next, I had the pleasure of seeing this next comic last week at the Naked Show. Legit, that is a thing. It's right here at Improv Boston, and it's exactly what it sounds like. All the comics are nudie. I think that I'm like, mature, worldly person, whatever, until I go to a show where somebody comes out on stage nudie, and I'm like, oh my God, they're naked. But they did a great, great job, especially this next comic. She's a rock star. Please welcome Chloe Cunha.
That was so nice, thank you. I am wearing clothes, I'm so sorry. So sorry. How's it going? This is fun. Hello, hi, excellent. We're at a comedy show, very exciting, yeah. All right, give it. Who here likes poetry? Mostly confusion, yeah, that's what I was expecting. Excellent. Here is a haiku about my clitoris. This is really weird to do when you're naked, by the way. My clit's a hacky sack. Hipsters love to play with it. Don't know how. It's based off a true story, and now I'm gay. I am a gay. I'm a lady gay. It's fun. I like it a lot. It's a good time. I like it. I love Pride. I love the month of June. Good month. Much warmer than this one. Already a positive. They do a really cool thing. I'm actually from Cambridge. I'm from here, and they do a really cool thing here. I don't know if you've noticed. Like maybe you happen to notice. It's actually right out here in Central Square for Pride. They paint the crosswalks rainbow colors. Yeah, it's cool, right? It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's like the floor is lava for homophobes. One wrong step, you get whisked straight to hell by a pack of rabid unicorns. You'll be forced to make gay wedding cakes for all eternity. Ooh, it's spooky. You burn the cake every time. It's hot down there. That's the worst part about hell is you can't enjoy the punishment cakes. Anyway, it's fun. I actually have a girlfriend. Sorry, ladies. I know you all slice of milk? Yeah. Spoken for. Sorry. She doesn't like it when I call myself a slice of milk in my stand-up, but it's true. We're in love. It's gross. It's very bourgeois, I know. And as such, we have conversations. You know, people in relationships do. Ideally, not always. And this one time, not always. And this one time, we were talking about objectification. Right? Two women in a relationship. It might come up, right? And we concluded, actually, we were both okay being objectified, but only by each other. It's kind of fun. Makes sense. It's like a nice little loophole, right? Which is why now I call her my little space heater. Yeah, 'cause she keeps me warm. And if I don't pay enough attention to her, she might start a fire. And she calls me her haunted doll. Very pale. And I stare at her when she sleeps. She likes it, don't worry. She likes spooky things. She's maybe a little too spooky. Look, we're in love. But I do think she might have a problem. I've been thinking about a way to have an intervention. She has too many bones in her apartment. In her body is the correct amount, but there are just so many bones in her apartment. Look, I think some of you might think I'm exaggerating. I don't know how many bones is too many bones, but I will tell you, it has to be somewhere between 1 and the sentence, "Hey babe, I found my jewel. It was behind some skulls." It's a real sentence. It was said to me. Yeah, a lot of bones. Look, I'm not one of those people that believes I should have been born in a different era, because gay, this one's fine. I'm okay with it. But that being said, I do think she would have really thrived in the Neolithic. She would have done well there. Some fun little lesbian cave woman activity. That would have been neat. No, it's true. She's not a comedian, so she's actually very funny. And the other day she said something to me that is so devastatingly true. We were just talking, and see, we talk a lot. No fun. And she said to me, "You know, I finally figured out what you talk like." And I was like, oh my, what do I talk like? And she said, "You talk like a cowboy reenactor at a Wild West theme park." Yeah! And the worst part is instinctually, the first thing that came out of my mouth, right, was, "Now listen here, little lady." Gosh darn it, darn tootin'. Give me my horse. It's fun, we have a lot of fun. Speaking of sexy things, I went to my cousin's bachelorette party not too long ago. It was a real fun time. We went to a strip club. It was a male strip club because, again, gay, but a team player. Touched a man's bare torso. Yeah. My work here is done. Slippery. Sweating a lot like a sexy baby seal. He was working. My cousin got a lap dance from a man named Temptation. Yeah, that's a Christian name. My favorite was sodomy. Like, burn the house down. But I'm glad you guys like that. I told that joke in Texas once and they did not like it. Oh my gosh, not what you want after a joke. Not what you want, no. Oh boy. This might be a little bit too much for you guys, but I'm gonna go for it. I might lose you. Here we go. I truly believe the hand, best sexual organ. Yeah, really. I'm fingering in general. Great. A plus. Look, I could see some skepticism. I'm assuming skepticism. The lights are bright, but don't worry. I can explain real quick. Don't worry. I can explain. I have a whole point. You'll You're gonna be like, whoa, that's wild. You're right by the end of this. Okay, listen, here we go. So first point. Hand comes in every gender. That's progressive. That's nice. Second point. Hand is versatile in shape. It's kind of fun as opposed to rah. That's fun too. This one leads this way, but that's fun too. But this is, you can move it around. It's neat. It's like a sexual skeleton key. I don't know what sex act this is, but you can do it. I don't know. The third point is the most important. Some of us, most of us probably are drinking here tonight, right? And yeah, it's fun. I never heard of whiskey fingers, have you? In fact, they use fingers to measure how much whiskey you want. 2 fingers? Yes, please. 3 fingers? Oh, okay. A whole fist of whiskey. Better bring the ice. Don't drive after. Thank you so much.
Keep it going, Chloe. All right, we're going to keep it going. Up next, another one of my friends. I'm very lucky to be surrounded by my friends tonight. Please welcome Matt Bedell.
Song's way too cool for me. How's it going, guys? Is this off? Did I shut this off?
No, you're good.
Oh, you can hear?
more quiet to you.
Oh, that's weird. How's it going, guys? Everyone having fun? This is my energy. It's like if Eeyore took an Ambien. New Year's resolutions, you guys got them? Anyone? Okay. Sick. All right. I made one this year, just to have less shame. Not no shame psychotic. Everyone should have a little bit, right? You know, just less shame. Like on the shame meter, I want to be somewhere between that guy that microwaves leftover fish in the office microwave. Fully aware that he is ruining the lunch experience for everyone else around him. And the guy that shares porn on Facebook. There's a sweet spot in there and I'm trying to find it. But I should be one of those gym people, those like gym resolution people, because right now I have the body of Michael Phelps when he was 7. See him looking like this at 7, right? Back on dating apps, because everything's going really well. Thing about dating apps that always sticks out to me are the bios that I see. Saw this girl's bio one time and she said, knows more about sports than you and is probably tougher. I thought, great. This would be perfect. If I was trying to fuck my dad, I guess? I don't really know. Don't really know who that's for. Sounds like she'd call me Chief a lot, give me noogies. Tell me that she's going to come to my Little League game, but forget because she's stuck at the office. You know, not girlfriend things. I don't know, not for me. I got into an accident in an Uber the other day. Didn't care if the way the guy announced it to me. Because he said, oh shit, we just hit that guy. We? You definitely just hit that guy. One of us is clearly driving, one of us is in the back, watching the rain trickle down out the window, pretending they're in a music video. Don't act like I'm the only one that does that. I was a pretty dumb kid growing up. Like I thought Viagra just made you better at tennis. Because of all the commercials I saw, where they take Viagra and they play tennis. The time I was sitting with my mom watching TV, there was a tennis game on. My mom said, wow, that guy is really good. Remember I was like doing something like a coloring book or something. I looked up for a second, looked back down, and I was just like, yeah, can you imagine how much Viagra that guy must take? It must be so much Viagra. I think it's weird the difference in advertising for men and women. Especially like body wash and shampoo. Like women are allowed to smell like nice things, guys always have to smell like weird things. Did you ever notice that? Your commercial for women's body wash, like, hey ladies, you want to smell like a coconut infused goddess? And women are like, yeah, absolutely, sign me up. And for guys, it's always like, so brochacho. You want to smell like a gun covered in barbecue sauce. I know. I don't. Why would you want to smell like Ted Nugent's dick? You know. It's very weird to me. Speaking of commercials, anytime I watch advertising, I think of like the origin story of how it became a thing. You know. 'Cause, you know, like commercials are just like brainstorming in a room, gets okayed by certain people, and then it becomes this big thing that everyone sees potentially worldwide. And by that logic, that means that at some point in time in one of those rooms, someone said out loud, you know, we could just make the green M&M fuckable. And they did. Let's not sit there and pretend that they didn't. I like to think it was a noble pursuit at first. Some guy said, you know, we need a female M&M. Everyone said, great. Sounds awesome. But every office has that weird guy who heard that and he was like, I guess so, but she's gonna be hot, right? And I hope people said, what? It's a cartoon chocolate. How would you make a cartoon chocolate hot? A weird guy didn't skip a beat. He was like, off the top of my head, I don't know, give her long legs. Full lips, a sultry voice. I actually have some sketches if you guys want to check those out. I think about the movie Air Bud a lot. You guys ever do that? Really? Cool. I think there's be a new one that takes place 20 years after the first one. It focuses solely on the kids that lost to Air Bud. Like a docu-series, Where Are They Now type of thing. It's a camera crew at some like small shitty bar and the camera's on some guy and he's like, yeah, you know, grow up, loving the game of basketball. Thought I was pretty good too. Had dreams of playing in the NBA one day. Until one time. When I was 10. My team got absolutely dicked by a golden retriever. That'll make you rethink your dreams. I think the first one could have been better if they just let Air Bud talk. How fun would that be if Air Bud's just talking shit on defense the whole game? Some small child goes to put up the last shot of the final game. Air Bud just leans in and goes, hey Timmy, how about after you brick that shot, I take your mother home and give it to her me style. Alright, thanks guys, appreciate it.
She is brand new to the scene. Please welcome Alyssa Gang.
So you did hear that right. My last name is in fact Gang. Like a gang. Like in I drive 50 in a 45 gang. Like in I cut the tags off my pillows before I pay and leave the store gang. Like in I cut class in high school to go to robotics gang. And my teacher didn't sign off on it until a few months later. So when I was home for vacation, I showed that bit to my grandpa. And he told me that's cute. It's not cute. It's fucking funny. And then I ran upstairs to my room to change my comedy. But no one ever responds the way that I want them to when I curse. You know, like the first time I ever cursed. It was before school, I was getting ready, my dad said, wake up, you gotta go to school, so I said, fuck you. And, then we had the whole car ride, right? And we were picking up the whole carpool that day, so you know, we picked up my friend Sam, and my dad was all like, guess what Alyssa did today? She cursed. He was so proud. I came home to a Carvel cake that said congratulations. I'm lactose intolerant, asshole. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself today, you know, because I cursed on stage. But really because the other day I got a paper cut. And that paper cut was on the ring finger of my left hand. You know, like right towards the tip of the finger, like if you were watching a Band-Aid commercial, that's where the Band-Aid would be. And when I applied the Band-Aid, I applied it such that the edges were perfectly aligned. Like there were no sticky parts showing. None at all. If I rubbed my hand on my leg, like nothing was catching. Nothing at all. It was sick. No lint. And I was looking at this and I was like, it's a contiguous ring. Like my friends are posting pictures of their engagement rings on Instagram, and I'm posting pictures of this Band-Aid. If someone were to in fact propose to me with this Band-Aid, I'd say yes on the spot. Aside from the fact that if I said no, I'd probably bleed out from not having a Band-Aid. So anyway, as you can tell, I'm pretty OCD, a lot OCD. And I've done a lot of things over the years to try and calm my anxiety. I've tried deep breathing, yoga, meditation. I've seen enough psychologists to now be qualified to practice cognitive behavioral therapy. Call me after. But most recently I learned that if you hit your head in the right way, you can knock all of your worries right out. Gone. And that sounded pretty good. So I tried it, and I got a concussion. But my worries were still there. So I went to WebMD because something good must have come from it, right? And I learned about something called sudden savant syndrome. And that's when you get hit in the head and you suddenly become really, really good at something. And I'm like, I still have my OCD, but now I just need to find out what that is that I'm really good at. So I tried music. I'm learning to play the ukulele. My roommate says that's not it. She smashed it the other day. I'm pretty mad about it. I tried art. Still doesn't look like that's it. I tried going to work. I'm an engineer. My boss said that's not it. Annual review. Looking for a job now. I tried stand-up comedy. So far seems like that's not it. But then I thought back to that Band-Aid, perfectly sitting on my left ring finger. That's it. Thank you. Gangster's paradise, get it? I love Bella. All right, so how's everybody doing? We doing good? I feel like we're a nice intimate crowd. We're all friends here, right? I have something I have to get off my chest. I've been a little foul lately. If I wasn't jacked full of Botox, you would know that this is actually my angry face. Here's what happened. I found out that my husband started smoking again and has been lying about it. Uh-huh. Yeah. I came home and I found a cigarette butt in the toilet. So I did the reasonable, rational thing. I fished it out and I put it in his coffee. When I confronted him, he was like, "That was mine." Yeah, no shit. Like he was gonna get extra points for not trying to frame our 7-year-old. I'm still pretty bitter about it. I'm thinking what might make me feel better is if we all join together in singing a couple rounds of Colleen's Husband is a Big Fat Liar. Does that sound fun? I feel like some of you were on board, but maybe not everybody. I feel like you're on my husband's side. That's okay. My kids weren't that into it either. All right, everybody, please welcome next to the stage. I can't wait to see him, Sam Graham. I think you wrote this.
Oh, that's good. How's everyone doing? That was inconvincing. Great. I'm ready. I'm wearing my leopard print shoes, my tiger print shirt. I look like someone's pervy uncle. I'm good to go. So, yeah, my name is Sam Graham. My full name is actually Sam Graham Jones. I recently just dropped Jones from my name. My agent told me it sounded too Jewish. But yeah, I'm lucky. Sam Graham, it rhymes, it's cute, it's kitschy. You know, my mom was Dr. Seuss, so it makes sense. And I know that sounds a little weird, but just remember it's 2020, women can be doctors now. In case you forget my name, I am wearing a necklace with it on here, which is great, because if I get drafted for World War III, they'll be able to identify the body. You know, World War III and that threat was a very great way to kick off the decade. It's almost like it's the centennial of the first. History does repeat itself. It is a cycle. But, you know, I'm really feeling festive. That's why I came here looking like the New Year's baby. You know, but after a 27-year bender, I like to make the joke that I was born drunk. My doctor has since confirmed that it's because of the fetal alcohol syndrome. Speaking of my lush of a mother, I recently just went home for the holidays, which I'm sure a lot of people did. If not, I'm glad you're here at least. But you know, every time I go home, for the entire week I was there, I didn't poop once. And I'm convinced that it's because my body knows as soon as I go home, it's not gonna get any of the nutrients it needs. No one taught me that an adult male can't survive off of dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets alone. Luckily, I do get 100% of my daily dose of whimsy, but that is only recognized by the FDA of Neverland. But you know, going into 2020, I'm trying to take really good care of my health. I've been going to doctors. I just went to a psychiatrist. I was just diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which is amazing, because now I can write my aggressive bitchiness off as a mental disorder instead of a character flaw. And the woman, not the woman, the doctor who prescribed me, she didn't go to med school for 8 years to be called that woman. The doctor who prescribed me, you know, she was like, oh, you might have bipolar disorder, you might be borderline. She was being really hot and cold, and I was like, lady, who has bipolar disorder? But she put me on a mood stabilizer, which is great, because when you have bipolar disorder, you're like really looking for consistency. So I'm on a mood stabilizer, it's great. I'm consistently depressed, but you know, at least it's consistent. What else is consistent about me? I'm a freelance musician, so I'm consistently unemployed. And you know, the silver lining on it all is I'm in this really great committed relationship, so I'm consistently not having sex. My boyfriend's in the audience, and if you didn't know who he was, he's the one who looks embarrassed and shooting daggers at you with his eyes. But no, we do have sex. It's really great. It's really healthy. But you know, as a musician, I'm constantly thinking about, like, you know, my fuckability and my image. Quick poll, who here would fuck me? That was really disconcerting. I asked that question not for my own ego. I have wonderful self-esteem. But I asked that for my boyfriend's sake, because what a great thing if he sits in a room full of people who all want to fuck his boyfriend. There can be 100 people in the room, but if 99 of them want to fuck you, that's what matters. I don't know how that's going to go over later. But you know, I like to think of myself as like a real Renaissance man, mostly because I have the face and body of a cherub from a Raphael painting. If you don't know who Raphael is, he's the sexiest of the Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sorry, teenage, they're underage, so I can't really call them sexy. Oh no, someone called the police on me. I'm in love with a fictional turtle. But you know, I do really liken myself the male Lolita, or Lolito, as they would say in Spanish. That's right, he's bilingual and bipolar, I guess. That's what bi means, it means two. But you know, this isn't part of the bit. I want to make sure I got everything. I got time to kill up here. I guess all I want to say is, just because I look like a baby, I will never call you daddy. That's what I got for you. Thank you so much. Oh, it was backwards.
See, you're all listening for Bella's songs now too. So You guys, that's one of the reasons that I love this show, because we have brand new comics, we have established comics, it's everybody kind of coming together. It's always a great show. We have one more comic for you, and she is actually one of the instructors of stand-up here at Improv Boston. So at least one of you is sitting in the audience being like, I'm funnier than her. Well, you can come and take a class. So please welcome to the stage the hilarious, wonderful, charming Tookie Kavanaugh.
Like Chloe from earlier, I'm actually a local myself. I have lived and worked in the Cambridge and Boston area. Yeah, don't clap for Cambridge. I know we're in it, don't clap. I'm from a very weird part of Cambridge. Okay, just this past Halloween, someone in my neighborhood was handing out rotisserie chickens to trick-or-treaters. I saw like 6 Elsas from Frozen walking around with a whole bird. It was the weirdest shit. But I'm from here. I love being from the Boston area. I love my city and everything. I don't know how many of you had heard. There was this survey that came out earlier last year that said people in America voted the Boston accent the #2 sexiest accent in the country. Who did they survey? And like, which variation of the Boston accent did they mean, right? Like, did they mean that old-time Kennedy accent? You know, that we chose to go to the moon because it's hard. You know that artisanal racism accent? You know artisanal racism when it sounds like you have an Ivy League education, but you still think Jim Crow had a lot of good ideas. That's a thinker. That's a thinker. That is a thinker. Or did they mean like the towny shit that we're all used to nowadays, right? Like, because here's my thing. If I'm out and about and I happen to swipe right on Sully from Winthrop, and we're hooking up and he goes, I'm wicked hot right now. I want to bet you go behind the dumpster by the packy and crush your pistol and smell like a fucking lobster. That doesn't sound like passionate lovemaking. That sounds like a hate crime. That sounds like I should call my local congressman about removing the racist graffiti he left inside my vagina. Like that survey. Well, like I said, I've lived and worked here for an eternity. I actually work not too far from here in the Central Square area. And I work late sometimes in my day job. Sometimes I'm there till like 9 at night, right? So I take the bus home, and as of recently, I have made this acquaintance at the bus stop, a homeless gentleman who will ask my permission to kidnap me. I promise you, every night he just comes like, excuse me, Miss Lady, I want to kidnap you. Can I kidnap you? Now let's get on this boat. Because he likes to call buses boats. So listen, I consider myself someone with a great deal of empathy and sympathy for other people's socioeconomic misfortune, especially the plight of homelessness. But logistically speaking, kidnap me to where? Because if it's this bench, you got me. And a lot of people malign the Me Too movement and all the baggage that it comes with, but I have to say, I really appreciate a woke kidnapper, right? Because I would never say yes to the offer, but at least he asked my consent. Like, 2020 is the future. Here's a fun thing. Not long ago, I got engaged. Yay! Yay! It's a whole thing. It's great. It's fun. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. My fiance, he's white. Okay, so you think of the Boston area as what? He's from Montana, which is it's literal Caucasia. Like, he listens to at least 2/3 of the shit I say to him on Urban Dictionary. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, no. Here's the, like, we get a lot of commentary too when we're out and about, like, as an interracial couple. I remember we were downtown and there was this dude hanging out with his crew, like, selling a mixtape, and he sees me and my fiance. He's like, "Hey, cool guy." In her eyes, you one of us. Abso-fucking-lutely not. And we went to go see Black Panther together. Wakanda forever sounds like a slur coming out of his mouth. He thinks mayonnaise is a spice. That's how white my fiance is. But we're in the middle of all this wedding planning, and like, as someone who's been in several weddings, I'm realizing how much I don't want to put my own friends and family through that shit, right? Because being a bridesmaid is terrible. It's awful. Just this past summer, I was actually a bridesmaid in my best friend from college's wedding, and and she decided to have a bachelorette weekend in Vermont because Vermont's lit. Turn up. So we're going all around downtown Vermont. We're doing like brewery tours. Listen, it's me and 14 other white women and a lot of can Prosecco. It's a lot. It's a lot. We're wearing these matching tank tops that say, "Buy me a brew before I say I do." Like, it's a whole. I participated in a lot of what I like to call Lululemon pumpkin spice caucasity. Like, it was a mess. It was a mess. Right? Like, I'm in there. I'm being a supportive friend, putting up with a lot of shit. I'm in those photos. Listen, I'm the one raising that bowl of oatmeal, but I'm doing the white girl poses in those photos. Just bend the knee. Arms out. Vocal fry. Like, I'm in there. I'm in there. But here's the part that fucked me up the most. Here's the part that I hated the most. We get to the Airbnb, it's a log cabin. We open up the door, and there are balloons that spell out SHE, SAID, OKU, RR, which translates to she said oh, and at that point I was like, you know what, bring back segregation. Closing out is set on racial divide. All right, good night.
You guys, that's it. We're all done. Thank you so much for coming and laughing and snorting. Have a great night.
You had to go right with the dog. Yeah, I know. You were crouching up. It's like that could tell. I was like, we hold on. Yeah. Colleen saw me.